Stop saying, I'm sorry. Instead of, I'm sorry I'm so late, saying instead, thank you for waiting for me. Now, doesn't that create a totally different feeling?
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Katie and Nall. Previously, episode 652 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 10 months, 11 days, 12 hours, and 30 minutes since we last recorded our conversation.
I would encourage every member of your audience to live their life, to enjoy where they are, find out ways to make their world and the world of others better.
That was then. This is now. Katie, how are you doing today?
I am fabulous, Angel, and I am so excited to be here. I have actually been counting every minute since our last time we spoke.
Oh my. Well, you are a mathematician, right? So I do love that. Now, the last time we spoke, you did something that seemed impossible, and that was... you were married for 43 years at that time. And then secondly, there was the PhD, right? The doctorate, right? That you went for. Specifically, let's dig in first into the marital side. Are you still married?
You know what? We accidentally are, Angel.
Oh, the suspense in those last seconds. Yeah, so how has that been? I mean, family is such a major part of life, isn't it?
It is a major part of life, and I will tell you, it's been up and down and up and down. But what it has been is stable in consistency. My husband is an amazing rock of solidarity, and then I'm all over the place. So I have no idea why he puts up with me. I guess it's not meant for everyone. But it has worked for us, and it's provided me with a lot of emotional stability, which I needed in my life. Yeah, so we did celebrate our 46th wedding anniversary this past summer.
Congratulations.
Right? That's crazy. And a lot of it's endurance. A lot of it is, throughout the times when there were rough times, because there were, I would say, okay, that's it, I'm done. I need a divorce. And he'd say, well, you're not getting one. And so he would just hold tight, and I would just stay through. There was never abuse, right? If there's abuse, you need to leave. But there's never abuse. It was just whenever I'd get uncomfortable, that's when I wanted to leave. And as it turns out, there's nothing wrong with being uncomfortable from time to time and for growing through it. And that's what I had to learn how to do.
I love that you shared that, because there's so many individuals, the decade holders, and even the newbies in marriage that need to hear that. I as well. We're just on 12 years at the time of this recording and been together for 19 years. So I appreciate that tremendously. It's both motivating and inspirational to know that it is possible to make it to the 40-somethings, right? Now, the ETF, the Emotional Technique Freedom. Tell us, has that been instrumental as well in the relational side of who you are?
Oh, absolutely, Angel. Because tapping relieves and eliminates stress and anxiety in our relationship, I developed anxiety and stress. And sometimes it had nothing at all to do with my relationship with my husband. But instead, it was the stress and anxiety that I had from my own personal life, from my life experiences, and actually from, as I grew to understand, it's from my mother's and my grandmother's experience. Angel, what I didn't understand is that when a baby girl is born, all the eggs that she would have for children, she's born with. And so that meant when my mother was born, my egg was in her. So that meant that throughout my grandmother's pregnancy and throughout my mother's complete life, all the energy, all the things that they experienced, I experienced as an egg, right? Yeah. So even things that happened before my birth were things that influenced me that I was not even aware of. Is that crazy?
It is. And I've seen that. And I think it's a great point you make up where individuals are expressing to another individual. For example, I'm sure you've heard of this, like, how do you know what love is? You're too young to know. But the truth is, the DNA aspect, even as you're expressing genetically, there's a lot that's going on that's passing on, isn't there?
And I did not understand that. So when I was experiencing stress and anxiety in our relationship, and then I would start tapping, or better yet, I would work with a certified practitioner. I'm a certified practitioner, but I know that I can only tap based on my knowledge. But sometimes the source of my stress and anxiety is subconscious, and I don't even know what questions to ask. So when I work with one of my peers and they ask insightful questions and I go, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that, right? And that's where I make the progress. So yeah, tapping and emotional freedom technique has been huge in helping keep my relationship. And I have to tell you, from time to time, I sit my husband down and say, I know that you're not frustrated and that you're not angry, but your actions are making me frustrated. So I want you to tap with me.
Well, that's great. And I think it's just fascinating the way that we take the stories and we make them into the Cinderella type models. Well, probably not Cinderella, because Cinderella had the bad parts as well, right? But it doesn't continue, right? It's like, yes, she marries the prince, and then what? And I think it's so important to understand that there are challenges throughout the entire process, as you shared, and I believe I have experienced the same as well. How has all of this impacted your children? And the last time we spoke, you were expecting a fourth grandchild. What's going on there?
Oh, you're so right. So our fourth grandchild turned out to be a little girl. I call them the four adorables. They're my four granddaughters. And this weekend, we're actually going to go visit the fourth one. She's up in North Carolina. And I'm just so head over my heels in love with them. They are so precious and so wonderful. So the question that you've asked is, how has our long-term marriage between my husband and I affected our grandchildren and our children? Well, I think at times they were frustrated with us when we did argue, when we did have disagreements, when I would go nuts. But I have heard, not necessarily from my own children, because, kids don't always tell their parents things, but interestingly, from the people they've married, my son-in-law, daughters-in-law, who kind of quietly let us know that they're impressed with the fact that we've had a long-term relationship and they get along with us. So I think it impacts them that way. And you know what? Every time I thought about, that's it, I'm out of here, I got to get a divorce, I can't take this anymore, something would happen. I would hear a podcast, I would listen to a radio program, an article would pop up, a book would fall into my hands, somebody would tell me a story. And I lived as a child of a single mother, so I knew exactly what would happen under a separation. And actually, this is kind of ironic, my husband is a very, very accomplished and good divorce attorney. So I know exactly what happens. And basically, your lifestyle changes tremendously. And again, like I said, if you're in an abusive situation, you must get out for both you and your children. But if it's only uncomfortable, finding out what you each need to do to grow, acknowledging that, and figuring out a way to make it work. What really cinched it for me is I thought, you know what? We're going to have weddings coming up. We're going to have baptisms coming up. We're going to have events where we're going to get together as a family. And I don't want to be standing in one corner of the room and my ex-husband standing in another corner of the room and causing more discomfort, right? With the family members who don't know what to do with us, right? And every time that came up, I thought, these petty things that I'm upset about, I thought maybe I can figure out a way to get around this.
Now, it speaks to, for me, what I get from that is as well the maturity that goes with who you are from your experiences. Feelings seem to always be behind the decisions that are made. That being said, you can make decisions that allow you to have the futuristic experience that you had, which is a good one, right? Or you could have made the decisions that would have allowed you to be saddened by the experience. To see that you're doing that is very, very much something that the older women need to teach the younger women. And I'm so glad that you share that.
And when somebody taught me, and I think this is just so exciting and powerful, is that to stop saying, I'm sorry. Now that sounds contradictory, right? Why would you stop apologizing? When you say I'm sorry, sometimes you fall into this victim mode, right? That, oh, it's all my fault and I'm sorry. And instead replace the phrase I'm sorry with thank you. So instead of I'm sorry I'm so late, saying instead, thank you for waiting for me. Now, doesn't that create a totally different feeling? And that's what you're talking about, right? Is how do we manage? How do we control our feelings? And you know that if we don't manage or control our feelings start controlling us. And that's what tapping's all about.
Love it. Love it. Now, where's the best place for someone that's listening to connect with you, Katie?
They can call me. I'd love for people to call me. That's fine. I'm at area code 772-480-0541. Again, that's 772-480-0541. They can email me, which is great. I'm at drnallspeaks@gmail.com. That's Dr. Nall Speaks @gmail.com. And they can check on my website too, which is knowledgecompany.com. Let me spell that out. It's NALLEDGECO.com.
Love it. Love the branding there. Again, amazing audience. 772-480-0541. Katie, this was such a great pleasure. It is a grand opportunity for me to have a call with you and to hear just almost 3 years after that you have continued along the path you've chosen. Congratulations on that. I appreciate it for myself and for those listening. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yeah, just real quick. I have a new book coming out called Shower Blessings, Finding Time for Meditation in a Busy Life. And if people want more information, they can contact me. It's a little book. You can read it in less than an hour and get lots of great ways to find time to quiet the soul.
Love it. Again, Katie, a pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.